Hello, and welcome to this training on common mindset blocks and imposter syndromes that can occur if you're a brand new oil painter and what to do if it happens. So, for those of you who do not know me, hello, my name is Marie Blom. I am a Norwegian professional fine artist and digital course creator, and I'm also the founder of the Oil Painting Journey. So in this training, I'm going to walk you through three very common mindset blocks that can occur when you're a brand new painter. And these mindset blocks have happened to me so many times, I cannot count the times that they have happened. But luckily, I have some techniques, some tips and tricks that I use whenever they do occur to help me move past them. Now, the very first mindset block I'm going to be talking about is a feeling of not being talented enough. Now, this is a very common mindset block, and it's a mindset block that I think everyone goes through at some point or even, at several points during their painting journey, because I think you always have people that you look up to, that you compare yourself to, that you think are better than you are. And I think everyone has moments of doubts where they think, will I ever become that good? Is it possible for me? Maybe no one's ever told you that you have talent even. And I think this is a very common misconception about creative professions or creative crafts, like painting or singing or acting, that if you don't have the talent, then you kind of lack the X factor, the determining X factor. And I do not think this is true. I think that painting in particular, it is, it's a craft. You have methods, you have techniques, you have recipes, all of which will train you and teach you how to see and how to transfer what you see in nature to your canvas. So, for someone to say, or for you to believe that I cannot become a good oil painter if I don't have the talent, that is simply not true. And I also think that that feeling of feeling like you're not good enough, it can be a really great driving force to keep on improving and keep on pushing yourself and to keep on reaching those next levels. Because if you just have, let's say, a bunch of talent, you've been told your whole life you're super talented and you feel like you're doing awesome work all the time, that is good for you. But then chances are, if you never see anything wrong with what you do, like if you never find any mistakes or you never see, like that next level that you want to reach, you're not going to advance. You're going to, you know, be surpassed by other people who might not have the same talent that you did initially, but they put in the work, they put in the effort, and, now they have surpassed you. So I've seen this happen a lot of times. I've seen people with, so-called talent, and yes, they have talent. Don't get me wrong, but I've seen these people be surpassed by people who are willing to put in the time and effort, time and time again. So don't let this discourage you. Don't let this hold you back, and know that oil painting, it is a craft, and if you keep showing up, if you keep putting in the time and effort, you will get there and you will become a badass oil painter. I believe that. Okay, so the second thing that can happen when you're a brand new oil painter, it's feeling like you're not in control of the paint. Now, this is a very common one, and I'm going to give you three tips that you can use the next time that you feel like you're not in control of the paint. So, first of all, the reason why we feel like we're not in control of the paint, it is obviously because when you're starting a new craft and working with a new medium, it takes some getting used to, right? So let's say you've only been painting with oils and all of a sudden you started painting with watercolor. It's a very different medium. It has a very different texture, a feel. It has a very different temperament. Like, it behaves in a completely different way. So even though you were really good at painting with oils, when you start testing watercolors, you might feel like a complete newbie, right? And it's the same the other way around as well. So if you painted a lot with watercolor and then you start painting with oils, it will take some getting used to. So this is just, this is just part of it. This is natural. But there are three things which can help you a lot if you are brand new to oil paint and you feel like you're not in control or you don't have a feel for the paint. So the very first thing that I like to recommend when you start out painting with oils is that you spend some time really testing and trying different brushes. So what do I mean by this? Well, the brush, to me at least, is it's the most important piece of material that you have as a painter, because the brush is like an extension of your hand, right? And if you're working with a brush that is too big, too small, has the wrong shape even for you and for what you feel like, then that can be enough to completely throw you off and to completely make you feel like you're not in control of the paint. For example, when I started out, I was working with really large brushes because I heard that, as a new oil painter, it's really important that you can simplify, which is true, and simplifying is easier when you use big brushes. But to me, it just took forever. I didn't feel those big brushes, I had a thing with them. I didn't like working with them. And as soon as I scaled down and I started working with smaller brushes, everything just became easier. I had a completely different sense of control when I was working. And this leads me to a very important point, or a very important I think advice, and that is don't mind what everyone else is telling you, right? Use the brush that you feel the most comfortable with and spend some time really experimenting and testing different brushes out so that you feel what fits best in your hand and what communicates the best your what you're trying to paint, right? So maybe you are someone who figures out after some testing and trying that you love to work with flats. That gives you the brush strokes and the feel that you want on your canvas. Great. Then you go for that. You go for that and you work with flats. Maybe you're someone who hates flats like me. Like, I don't hate them by any means, and I think they're great for certain things. But in general, I don't use flats because I don't feel like they leave the impression and the marks on my canvas that I like. I like to work with filberts and I like to work with classic rounds, right? So this is something that is really important, that you try and test your brushes. And don't think too much about which brushes you should use or shouldn't use. Just use the brushes that feel good in your hand and that you're comfortable working with. Now, the second reason why you might not feel in control of the paint is because you're not spending enough time away from your canvas. So let me explain, because obviously we want to be painting on our canvas, right? But the thing is that actually a lot of the decision making and a lot of the observing should happen away from your canvas. So if you are brand new to oil paint and you are just like throwing paint at the canvas and you never spend any real time away from your canvas reflecting over those decisions that you make and what actually needs to happen in your canvas to move you forward, then chances are you are going to become very overwhelmed quite fast and you're going to feel like you're not in control of the paint if things are not going your way. And one thing I like to recommend, and one thing that I do a lot when I am painting and if I feel stuck, is to actually talk to myself out loud and to start a dialogue with my painting. Because it's very different going over everything in your head and actually saying it out loud and putting, real words on it. Like, when you're in your head, a lot of the time you might think you are, but a lot of the time you're not really completing a thought. It's kind of like, you're going through something in your head and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then you start doing this or that, and then before you know it, you have just, you're just throwing paint on your canvas again. And then if something good happens and you feel like, oh wow, I really made something really good happen right there, but it's not a very reflected or thought out decision, then chances are that you're actually not going to be able to repeat that. Versus if you do something and you solve a problem by looking at what's happening on your canvas and you're thinking, okay, why is this a problem? Let's say, for example, something is wrong with the values in your painting, and you start having a dialogue with that, and you say, okay, something is wrong with the values in my painting. Why is that? Is my darkest dark not too dark? Is, like, how can I make my brightest light brighter? Like, why is the light effect wrong? And then you start actually like resonating with yourself, and that kind of reflected observation is going to make for much more well thought out decisions that you can actually build on later, and that you can actually remember, and that you can learn from. So having a dialogue with yourself, talking out loud, and really figuring out like how you can move forward with your painting in that way is something I always recommend if you feel like you're not in control of the paint. Now, the third tip that I like to give if you feel like you're not in control of the paint is really basic and is really easy, but it's just actually taking a deep breath and remember that you are in control of the paint. Nothing can happen on your canvas unless you make a decision. So even when you feel like, you don't know like what happened, how all of a sudden, like how does this look like what it looks like, right? Just take a deep breath and remember that, you can always like erase whatever you've done as well. Remember that oil paint is an extremely forgiving and flexible medium, so correcting mistakes compared to, for example, watercolors, which is a bit harder to correct your mistakes, but in oil paint, that is super easy. You can scrape things down, you can really paint over it, you can even once a painting is dry, and if you have areas of your painting where there's a lot of paint and a lot of texture and you think that you're not going to be able to paint over that and make it look pretty, you can even sand those areas down. It's actually true, and I've seen people do this. So it is an extremely forgiving and friendly medium. So just know that, it's not like the decisions that you make are permanent. They don't have to be permanent. Know that you're in control of the process and you can manipulate your painting in quite a few ways. So don't let the fear of messing up or feeling like you're not in control of the paint, and don't let that hold you back. You are going to be able to correct those mistakes. I am sure of it, and you are going to be able to move forward with your painting. Okay, so those are my 3 tips. If you feel like you're not in control of the paint, experiment with your brushes. Remember to step back and put into words what exactly you want to happen on your canvas to make yourself more in control of the process. And lastly, remember that you are in control of the process, and that oil paint is an extremely friendly and forgiving medium, and you can actually correct your mistakes quite easily. So the third and final mindset block that I'm going to be talking about that can happen when you are a new painter is the feeling like you're stuck, like you're not moving forward and you don't know why. Imagine you've been painting on a painting for, I don't know, a week or something, right? And you feel like you're not improving, and every single time you look at your painting, you almost feel like you're moving backwards. Now, painting with oils or learning anything is going to be a curvy line, right? It's going to be something like a roller coaster. But what is important to remember is that even though it is a roller coaster, it's a roller coaster that is constantly moving up. So it can be like this, but it's going to move constantly up. So if you put in the time and the effort, even though you feel like you can't see improvements and you are stuck, one thing I like to recommend is taking progress photos. Because I promise you, if you stick with it and you keep showing up on the days where you do not want to, and you keep putting in the time, you keep putting in the effort, you will improve. You're bound to improve. It's just the way it is, because you keep repeating your methods and your techniques, and when you do, then you get it more and more in your system and you will become better. So if you take progress photos, which is something that I like to do, this gives you a chance to really look at your work more objectively when you're not so emotionally invested. Because the thing is, if you look at a painting and you only look at your painting and you see, oh my god, this painting, it's not working out. I feel like it's much worse than the other one I made. And sometimes that can be the case, to be fair, sometimes that is the case. Sometimes I have paintings that end up, in the trash, to be honest, because I do not like them. So you don't have to love every single painting that you do. But my point is that if you take progress photos, you are bound to see that you are actually moving forward. Even though you might feel like, oh, these last couple of months, nothing much have happened in my work. If you look at, paintings that you painted 6 months ago, you will see the progress. So doing that is really helpful. And it's something that I've done a lot, and it's really helped me out to almost get like a pair of new eyes on my own work. So this is something I find really, really, really helpful. And another thing to remember is if you feel like you're stuck and you're looking at other people and you feel like they are so far ahead of you and you feel like, everything that they do is just awesome and you cannot understand why you are not there yet, is remember the space between where you are as a new oil painter just starting out and where you want to be. And be realistic about it. Because the truth is, the people that you admire, maybe they have like 5 years, 3 years, 10 years more experience than you, right? So it's not really realistical for you to expect to be at their level just yet. And this is, can be kind of like a tough pill to swallow, but it's the truth, right? Like, and with anything, if you want to be really good, you have to put in the hours, you have to put in the work. There's no real way around that. You can get methods, you can get techniques, you can get tips, you can get information, but it all comes down to how much time and energy and effort you actually put in to putting those techniques, tips, and methods into practice. So my final advice is just stick with it, just stick with it. Even on the days where you feel like you don't feel like showing up and you feel like everything is not working out, keep showing up and you will get there. You will become a badass oil painter, and remember that there are techniques, there are tips, there are tricks to help you on that journey. Remember that everyone has moments when they feel unmotivated, when they feel like they're not talented. Remember that if you feel like you're not in control of the paint, you take a step back, you take a break, and you try and put into words why that is. Try changing your brushes and see if it works better for you. Remember that you are in control of that paint. So I just want to finish off by saying that I hope you've enjoyed this training. If you ever have moments when you feel like things are not working out, just you can look at this training again. Something I like to do from time to time is also recommend putting up post-it notes. Put up post-it notes around your easel or on your studio wall and write things like, you got this. Hard work beats talent. Remember to take a break. Remember to put into words, like remember to talk to your painting, and you will get there. I'm 100% sure of that. So I just want to wish you all the best of luck on your very own oil painting journey. And if you have any questions, any thoughts about this training, or if you have any thoughts or mindset blocks that I didn't cover in this training, then, feel free to email me at info@oilpaintingjourney.com and I will get back to you. So all the best of luck, have fun painting, and I know you got this. Okay, bye.